Yes, so we'll start with the most basic user story, which is lending. You can come in with Bitcoin or Atom or USDC, and you can deposit it, and you will start earning yield based off of how many people are borrowing from the Bitcoin pool or the Atom pool or the USDC pool. The more borrowers there are, the higher the interest rate is that borrowers pay. So this is known as utilization.
GM. Today we're diving into privacy in DeFi, a space that has long been dominated by public, transparent transactions. But that's about to change because our next guest is Carter, who is building ShadeX, the world's finest encrypted money market. For years, DeFi users have accepted public lending and borrowing data as a norm. That's left them exposed to whale manipulation, liquidation hunting, and MEV attacks. ShadeX is here to change that. This is BlockHunters Voices, the podcast with cool kids from the blockchain space. I am Joachim Buj, your host. Welcome, Carter.
Thanks for having me on. Excited to talk about privacy today and all things ShadeX.
Let's get it on then. Tell me, Carter, I like to start from the beginning, really get to see who I'm talking with. What were you doing before entering this rabbit hole of crypto?
Yeah, so I actually got into crypto in college. So to be honest, it's been, I think I'm 8 years into the journey at this point. And I was just a college student, and my cousin sent me some links. He's in traditional finance, in investment banking, and he sent me some links about Bitcoin. I went down the rabbit hole one summer. I was working like an IT job, and I was bored out of my mind. So I was reading everything I could in my spare time about crypto. And then I had like 60 pages of notes. And at one point I realized, wait a second, I think I'm like accidentally writing a book right now. Like that's how like far down the rabbit hole I got into it. So then I spent 3 years writing and researching a book. It actually got published. It's called Building Confidence in Blockchain. Got published, which is super fun by New Degree Press. And then in that 3-year journey of like writing this book, I started to realize everything in crypto is completely transparent. We had this beautiful industry that's all about permissionless participation, non-custodial, decentralized finance. But if it's all totally out in the open, how are we going to bridge everyday commerce onto the blockchain? If you there's trillions of dollars in value that's going to come into this space, and if you don't have basic data security, it's actually a security risk for an everyday person. It's a massive barrier of entry. So from there, I found a network called Secret Network that was building privacy, hopped in there, started running nodes, became super passionate about it, and then eventually went and raised $5 million to build Shade Protocol. That was at the end of 2021 when we raised that money. And since then, we have launched private DeFi primitive after private DeFi primitive, many worlds first within that journey. And most recently, we launched ShadeX, which I'm sure will be one of the big topics today, which is the world's first encrypted money market. It has never been done before. Every other money market to date has had total transparency for every individual's position. And what we launched is the first time ever that there is data security for your lending and borrowing in crypto.
But since we started going deep dive into ShadeX, which, as you said, is the world's first encrypted money market, what does that actually mean for the average user?
Yeah, what it means for the average user is you're protected from outside forces trying to liquidate you. So right now on Ethereum, you could look at Aave or Compound, where there's $20 billion plus on these platforms. And the whole world can query the blockchain and see, oh, Bob, let's create random username. Bob has $10,000 of Ethereum and he's borrowing Bitcoin. And we know that if the price of Ethereum drops another 20 cents, he's going to be liquidatable. And then I, as a liquidator, can come in, grab his collateral, pay back the debt, keep the discount, and walk off with a bunch of profit. And basically, we live in an industry where these very large whales, these very large programmatic actors, are incentivized to force liquidations. They can see everyone's positions, and they know if they can move price, they can profit from it massively. And so that's why privacy is an interesting property. It's difficult to feel privacy. It's like an invisible protection that's there. And what's tough is right now that invisible protection isn't there. So people don't necessarily know the cost of not having privacy until they get front run on a DEX or until they get liquidated. And even if they got liquidated, they might not know it's because of the transparent nature of the blockchain. So in summary, privacy is powerful because it protects your money from people with a lot of money that want to take it from you. And privacy doesn't care if you have $100 million or $1. Privacy protects you equitably.
But why do you feel the traditional DeFi platforms ignored privacy for so long? And
Yeah, I think it's because building with privacy is hard, to be honest. Like when Ethereum was invented way back in the day, privacy wasn't at the front of everyone's minds. Like crypto's collective market cap was so small, and so people weren't concerned about these long tail problems. Even Satoshi, when Bitcoin was made, it didn't actually have like true anonymity. It was pseudo anonymity, where like anyone can create a wallet. No one for sure knows who made that wallet, but everything that they do on the blockchain is publicly visible.
public ledger.
Yeah, it's a public ledger, but there's some privacy within like creating a wallet, and like who the heck is that wallet? No one for sure knows. But the deeper we get into crypto now, you have all these centralized exchanges, and there's massive information repositories of correlating, that centralized exchange user to that wallet. And there's like massive companies like Chain Analysis is like a super big one that like their full-time job is essentially doxing blockchains with a high degree of confidence of who is what user. And so in summary, it's not that our industry didn't care about it. I think it was so in the back of the mind, and it's a difficult problem to solve. And now the deeper the more adoption we've seen, now the problem is becoming more pressing, more real. And now it's a question of how is our industry going to solve the problem? How much pressure is there going to be to solve the problem? And someone like Shade, we've decided to build from a first principle standpoint, where we're going to go and solve that problem, even when it's not necessarily like a popular, cool narrative. It's like we just believe in protecting users fundamentally from day one.
Do you think that there also is like a compliance issue?
Yeah, I mean, I think compliance is definitely traditionally been a problem. We actually just saw that Tornado Cash and a bunch of privacy related cases have completely flipped in the last 2 or 3 months. So it seems like there's been really good work done by various organizations that represent crypto on the legal front, like fighting to protect privacy in crypto. But yes, I would say there was a chilling effect the last couple of years, where if you're building with privacy tech and you start to see founders like tossed in prison for just making code,
Exactly.
that definitely doesn't help motivate people, to your point, to build with privacy.
As you've said earlier, one of the biggest structural problems in DeFi is the whale manipulation and the liquidation hunting. I mean, we've seen this a lot on Hyperliquid recently. All my Twitter feed is is full of interesting stuff. Let's call it like this from Hyperliquid. But tell me, how do you guys at ShadeX and with ShadeX encryption layer prevent liquidation, sniping, and MEV attacks?
Yeah, so it's just not even possible. Like, essentially, if you query the secret network blockchain, which is what ShadeX is built on top of, if you query the smart contract like on Ethereum or any of these other chains, it'd be like user position 10. Here's their list of collaterals. Here's how much debt they have. Here's their liquidation price. Like, it's all just there. Like, you literally can just query this stuff. If you query a Shade protocol smart contract, there's nothing. It's all encrypted. It's a mumbo jumbo of like string that no one can understand. But the smart contract and the underlying blockchain, because of the privacy, it's able to decrypt and update the ledger basically in a cohesive way. So outside looking in can't see it, but the blockchain itself and the smart contracts can see that encrypted data and act upon it. So how do we prevent the liquidation manipulation? People don't have the information to act on something like that. If you're $1 away from being liquidated, only you, the individual user, and the smart contract knows that. No one else in the world knows that. So that's protection number one. And then protection number two, the minor extractable value. We also have ShadeSwap, which is a decentralized exchange on Shade Protocol. So on Ethereum, essentially there's a block and transactions fill the block. And you have your different validators and nodes. They order the different transactions. And so the problem in Ethereum is someone can see, ooh, like Bob is about to make a trade. I'm the block creator. I'm going to like reorganize the transactions and shape them in a way where I actually perform a transaction before theirs. Then your transaction happens. Then I do something else to profit off of you. So there's like transaction reordering on Ethereum because everything's transparent. But on Secret Networking with Shade, the blocks themselves and the transactions are encrypted. So the people that are creating blocks, they don't even know what these transactions are. Like they can't even, reordering them is just nonsensical. Like they don't know what's going on inside the transaction. So that's how we protect against MEV. That's how we protect against liquidations. The information isn't even there for programmatic actors to use to be able to do an attack like that.
Yeah, but right now talking with you, I'm having this scenario in my head. Let's say for a fact we are trading Atom, right? And Atom is tradable on checkses, on perpetual dexes, on everything. If we have bigger positions, let's say on Hyperliquid, you also can get liquidated, even though you're not hunted on ShadeX, but you still
Correct.
can get liquidated because
Absolutely.
it's yeah. So basically, if we want to solve this completely, we have to make every protocol to be privacy approved, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to make it 100% across the board where no one really knows the state of liquidations, yeah, you would need everything tied to privacy. But we think a good start is protecting a subset of individuals that use the platform at the end of the day.
Can you introduce us some of the innovative mechanisms in ShadeX DeFi? Can you break them down for us? What exactly can you find in ShadeX if I'm a user?
Yes, so we'll start with the most basic user story, which is lending. You can come in with Bitcoin or Atom or USDC, and you can deposit it, and you will start earning yield based off of how many people are borrowing from the Bitcoin pool or the Atom pool or the USDC pool. The more borrowers there are, the higher the interest rate is that borrowers pay. So this is known as utilization. The reason we do this is essentially as a lender, you want to be able to withdraw whenever you can, right? Like that's known as liquidity. Like you always want to kind of have that instant liquidity. Like I put in $100 of Bitcoin, I'm earning yield, and at any given moment, I want to be able to take it out, right? Now, the problem is if the pool is 100% utilized, it means all the money that was in the lend pool is currently out of the pool. Like someone is at large and using it. And this kind of sucks for you as a lender because now you can't pull your money out. The pool is 100% utilized. So to compensate lenders, what happens is the interest rate curve essentially grows exponentially the more people that borrow from the pool. And what this does is now you're getting compensated for that illiquidity. So you can be earning up to 500% APY as a lender. And in the interim, while you're waiting for like essentially the people that have borrowed are highly incentivized to go back and repay their loans and add money back to the lend pool because now they're getting charged a very, very, very high interest rate. And so as more and more people repay their loans, these borrowers, they do that because they want to avoid liquidation, which is the main financial incentive. And additionally, new lenders are incentivized to jump in because the interest rate is so high and they want to earn that juicy APY. And the very act of them adding capital to the lend pool adds more liquidity to the pool, which makes it easier to withdraw from. So as a fundamental principle, lending is great the more borrowers there are. Interest rate goes up to ensure that you'll be able to withdraw at any point in time is kind of the goal. So that's lending. The other great feature is, of course, borrowing. You can come in and you can deposit Bitcoin as collateral, you can deposit Atom as collateral, and it creates what's known as a cross-margin position. And that just essentially means you can put multiple different collaterals together to build a single leverage position, right? So I can come in, let's say, with USDC as collateral, and let's say I want to short Bitcoin. It's actually super simple on ShadeX. You borrow Bitcoin, and then on ShadeSwap, you can immediately sell the Bitcoin for USDC. Then you let the price of Bitcoin do its thing. Hopefully it goes down, right, if you're shorting it. Using that USDC, you then rebuy the Bitcoin, pay back the debt, and then your profit is the spread, basically.
Yeah, it's the cross-margin fundamentals.
Exactly. So we support cross-margin. We support the classical lending. There's some other great features, like there's lending and borrowing rewards. So a lot of money markets today will have boosted incentives, but just on the lending side. We also added in rewards for borrowers. So we will actually pay you to borrow. We'll actually pay you to borrow crypto to like try the platform and give it a shot. It's one of our most popular features. That's why I think we're almost crossed $1 million of lending supply. And I think there's roughly $400,000 of borrowing that's happened on the platform. So it's been like super, super successful, like bootstrapping, getting people to try this thing. I'll pause there if you have any questions. There's of course other features, but those are just some of the basic ones.
Yeah, I mean, what really piqued my brain when I was reading about it were the flash loans.
Yeah.
Because I don't know exactly how flash loans work. I mean, the term is pretty popular, so maybe we can do a little overview on flash loans.
Yeah, so what a flash loan is you're essentially allowed to borrow a very large sum of capital, but you have to, the money has to get returned within the same block, okay? So essentially the smart contract knows like, hey, this person's about to borrow $30,000 worth of Atom. As long as they can prove that their sequence of transactions in this block will return $30,000, that's the only way I'll let them borrow the funds. So they would have to be able to return $30,000 and a tiny bit of interest. And that's kind of like profit for the protocol. And then the upside is for the user is they're able to do really cool arbitrage, interdex. Like ShadeSwap has, I think it's like over 50 pools at this point. So there's always like different imbalances happening on the DEX. And so now a user that doesn't have much capital, but is really good at arbitrage, has access to way more money to like interact and arbitrage with these markets. So they're helping people who use flash loans traditionally are helping provide better pricing for users because they're correcting a lot of imbalances. And now using the lending markets on ShadeX, they have access to capital on a regular per block basis to correct things. And then the cool part is these are once again encrypted flash loans. So on Ethereum, if you're going to take out like a $20 million flash loan, it's really, really risky to go do something in DeFi because once again, the people that are building the blocks can be like, oh, Bob is about to borrow $20 million and try to do this thing over here. What if I insert a transaction? Yeah, it's so risky, right? And so what happens is these flash loan people, they're having to bribe the block builders and essentially be like, hey, I'll pay you. I know I can make $2 million right now, right out there in the market using a flash loan. I'll pay you $1.9 million. Just let me don't interfere with my transaction, dang it. So which is crazy. Like it's literally a bribe market. It's like a mafia of these like block creators and arbitrage people. And so then in this world of encrypted DeFi, what's really cool is these people using the flash loans don't have to worry about bribing these block builders. They're able to keep the value for themselves, which is good because you want to incentivize the people that are essentially correcting price discrepancies because ultimately the end user benefits from those people who use the flash loan. So privacy creates more equitable markets and more efficient markets, which is remarkable. Now you might ask yourself, well, why is it, if it's so much better, why doesn't Shade and privacy have, hundreds of millions of TVL? Why isn't it just running over everyone? At the end of the day, it's because the tech is still very new. The user experiences are still catching up with transparent DeFi. But my fundamental belief, the reason I've been building this for over 4 years is once we start to gain traction on the liquidity front and the adoption front, there will be no reason to go back to transparent DeFi. It is fundamentally a better product. And if because the biggest complaint is, oh, there's not enough liquidity. But once you solve that problem,
Yeah, exactly.
It's the better product.
Yeah, I think we have a good general overview of ShadeX right now, but let's zoom out a little. And basically, Shade protocol is built on top of secret network and is like an encrypted ecosystem. We talked about ShadeX, but also we have ShadeSwap, as you mentioned. Do you think we can cover anything else in the ecosystem that is important in this discussion?
Within like secret network, like other dApps, basically.
No, from the Shade protocol.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, one thing we could do too, if like we could just we could do a share screen and we could run through the app too. I think one of the coolest ways is to show people what has actually been built. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. We'll go Shade app, and this will be real fun.
Nice.
So this is ShadeX. This is the lending side of the product, where essentially you can come in here with your Bitcoin, for instance. You can deposit Bitcoin and you can start earning yield on your Bitcoin. We have all sorts of really interesting stats, so people can learn about how much of your capital is being borrowed. You can learn about the history of the APR. So that's ShadeX, and that's all the stuff we've been talking about today. Now there's ShadeSwap, which is this privacy-preserving decentralized exchange, and it functions just like any other AMM. So right here, I'm going to swap one USDC, and actually let's buy some Atom, since we're big fans of Atom, just to show you what this looks like in real time. And the cool part about this is this transaction is encrypted. So like on-chain, people don't really know what's going on. So this is a standard Kepler transaction. Just run through that here. Transactions on secret networks take usually 6 to 8 seconds. A little bit slower than your normal blockchain, but that's just because privacy is a little bit heavier to have at the end of the day.
Yeah, one question, because questions keep popping in my head when I watch this.
The successful swap.
So let's say, for example, I have some Atom on Cosmos Hub, right?
Yep.
I need to bridge that Atom into secret network, right?
Yes.
And after I bridge them into secret network, I need to deposit it into Shade, right?
So actually, for bridging, it's super cool. When you bridge in, your Atom gets wrapped into a privacy-preserving version of the Atom, and then once you bridge in, your Atom is ready to be used in the DeFi right away. So we do all of the kind of like wrapping and depositing automatically for the end users. We worked really hard on that experience, and I'll actually show you, like, we can do this right here. Like, I'll bridge in 0.1 Atom from the Cosmos Hub to Secret Network, which is where Shade Protocol is built, and that turns on the Cosmos Hub chain. When you transfer your Atom, it's public. On Secret Network, if you move your Atom around, it's private, which is pretty cool. I'll actually go ahead and do a bridge transaction. Bridging, on the other hand, pretty slow transaction. IBC is, relatively quick, but probably like 30-40 seconds for a transaction with IBC. So we covered swapping, we've covered lending. We even have a bridge page connected to dozens of chains for you to be able to come in, get privacy for your assets, and use a DeFi experience that's private. I think we haven't talked about Silk yet, which is probably our other most famous product, which is a privacy-preserving stablecoin that has some very unique features. It's not pegged to the dollar. It's actually tracking a basket of currencies and commodities, and has outperformed the dollar by roughly 15% in the last 2 years. Yes, super cool. Oh, so there's the successful transfer. Now that Atom...
before we talk about we talk about Silk, can I bridge funds from EVM chains or Solana into Secret Network and into Shade?
Yes, so you can bridge from Ethereum to Secret Network. Currently, this uses Axelar, but once the Cosmos Hub adds IBC Eureka, we'll be adding support for people to bridge through the Cosmos Hub to Secret Network with Ethereum assets. But yes, we do support Ethereum. We don't support Solana yet. Still waiting for more bridge connections to Cosmos.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. We can go on with ticker silk.
with the demo. I'll also jump over to the portfolio here. You can see that Atom was successfully bridged in, which was very nice.
Oh,
So
nice.
we'll go to analytics. I think this is our analytics page. So if you want to learn about kind of the protocol and our history of like the fees the protocol has accrued, the protocol owned liquidity, the staking, all the fun stats we have like readily available, because we believe in privacy for individuals, but a lot of these macro stats are still public and transparent for everyone to see. So privacy for individuals, but transparency for like these high level protocol stats is an important part of still building trust with everything that's been built here. So now we'll talk about Silk. Let me see. I think we can click max here. This one might take a little bit to load because it's the full history of Silk. So a lot of data points gets loaded in when we click on the max.
You said the TG was 2 years ago, right?
Yes, so that was in April of 2023. So we're almost at the 2-year mark. I wish I could pull up the max stat chart here. There we go. Okay, here it is. This is the full history. So we launched stats for this back in June of 2024, but if you go on CoinGecko, it actually goes even further back. But you can see that Silk was around $1.13, and now it has appreciated all the way up to $1.27. When Silk was initially launched, it started at $1.05. So way back in April 2022, $1.05. Now it's $1.27. So if you do the math on that really quick, let me just confirm this. Minus olds over olds. So it's a 20% increase in value in Silk in the last 2 years just for holding it. No DeFi degen activity involved at all. All you have to do is hold the stablecoin. And the reason this works is basically all the smart contract mechanisms for borrowers is targeting a moving peg over time. And the whole system is over collateralized. So there's $1.7 million worth of Silk. And in terms of asset backing, there's $4.57 million worth of assets backing it. So it's an over collateralized stablecoin. It uses the MakerDAO model. You can even see all the reserves that make it up. So there's $1.7 million worth of ST Atom backing Silk, $690,000 of ETH, lots of like really high quality assets that people have come in, they deposit those, and then they mint Silk, and then they have to repay Silk back to gain access to their collateral. So it's a way to borrow against your assets fundamentally.
Yeah, but that's why it didn't dump under $1, because all those tokens really dumped a lot, right?
Well, yeah, I mean the peg tracks Bitcoin, the Canadian dollar, euro, Japanese yen, the dollar, and gold. So like the smart contract and everything that people when you're like repaying your loan and when you're borrowing against it, all the smart contracts are referencing this moving peg. The assets that are backing Silk, however, are very broad range. Those things can be volatile. And the reason they can be volatile is because there's a system of liquidations, just like with ShadeX, where if the collateral drops below a certain amount of value, the collateral goes and buys Silk, right? And that's what creates the buy pressure to keep Silk at its target peg in these traditional.
I love that. I love that.
Yep.
Sounds dope.
So yeah, Silk's been a super successful product. You can also, there's also staking. So you can stake your Silk and earn 9% APY. So not only do you earn maybe your 10% resistance against inflation, you can also earn 9% yield on your Silk. So really cool yield opportunities there. There's also shade staking.
And where does the yield come from for Silk?
Yes, so the yield comes from borrowers, people that borrow.
Okay, so it's
Silk.
real yield.
Yes, this is all real yield based. There's no inflation involved on this front. Yep. And actually, in a similar sense, so Shade, we have all these different apps producing fees, and on a weekly basis, those fees go and buy back Shade, and then those are given back to Shade stakers. So you can see here, this is how bullish our community is. 60% of all Shade is staked. 60%. and it's earning 2.56% APY, which is a pretty low APY, to be honest, but it is real yield. It's not inflationary. And as the Shade product suite, as more and more people use it, that APY will go up over time, and it means it's more and more valuable to hold Shade. So yeah, other thing I'll mention too is there's liquidity providing. So not only can you swap on the Shade app, you can also liquidity provide, and you can earn trading fees from people trading across your liquidity, and you can also earn rewards, Shade rewards as well on there. So we have some nice pools, like a $500,000 pool of Atom, ST Atom. I can even show you what liquidity providing looks like. So I'm coming in here with my 0.31 Atom. I can go ahead and click that provide button, and I have an opportunity to essentially mint this LP token and immediately start earning yield on it. So I'll go ahead and do that. Confirm that Kepler transaction. Just to show you how easy this is. I bridged in that Atom. I'm already liquidity providing it one click later on the interface. And it's nice here because here we go. So now I've successfully provided that liquidity. So unlike Osmosis that has this like concentrated liquidity and you got to set these ranges, we still have like the tried and true constant product model, which is nice because it just makes the experience super easy. And now down here, I've staked my liquidity tokens and I'm earning extra yield as well. So definitely I can pause there. Like the app is so powerful. There's dozens of financial strategies and things you can do, and hopefully showing you the app makes it feel a little bit more tangible. These aren't just like high level ideas. Like this is something you can use today.
Stepping a little bit back, because I always like to ask this kind of questions, especially people building trading solutions or DeFi solutions. Where do you think we are in the crypto macro cycle right now? That's a hard one, I know.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end of the day, it becomes more of like a political and geopolitics question, but I think inflation has been really, really bad for many years, and there's been pretty rampant government spending that's it's essentially like a government spending bubble, and I think the middle class doesn't have money right now. Like
there's no middle class.
There's no middle class. So it's basically like, I think people around the world, these are like the best crypto prices we've seen in forever, and there's massive opportunity, but there's no money left. Like people's everyday daily expenses are going up and up and up. So you have all these crypto builders that are like, they've seen so much progress on the tech, but now they're frustrated because it's like, oh, it feels like our industry is dying. And it's like, this isn't unique to crypto. I have friends that are in biotech. I have friends that are in AI. I have friends that are in like finance. Like everyone is hurting right now. It's not just the crypto industry. The crypto industry just gets hit first because we're highest up the risk curve. So when things turn around, we're going to be the first to pump. But when things go down, we're the first to go down. And we've been going down for almost 3 years. Almost 3 years of down. And I think it could get worse. Like, I think that's the sad part. And I'm sorry to all the listeners that want to hear the bullish take, but I think there's a lot of leverage getting flushed out. I think the world power order is starting to shift as like America is starting to become more isolationist, and I think that's going to have like massive ramifications. Asia is very much on the rise. Europe is definitely probably going to be coming into its own. Africa is on the rise. So it's the world is becoming way more complex. I think post World War II, there is this 60 years of just kind of like simplicity where it was like the USA kind of does what it wants and the dollar's printing, but no one really cares. But now things are starting to shift, and I think there's no going back. And what does that mean for crypto? I think it's going to hurt, and that forces builders to build useful products. I think the day and age of just like, oh, I have a white paper, I launch a token, and I get rich and invest. It's like, no, like it's going to come back to who's the customer. Do they actually use the product? Is there sustainability?
Do they have product market fit? Yeah.
Product market fit. Exactly.
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, to be honest, this is good that this is happening. And we still get a lot of rugs in the meme coin areas, and not even meme coins, protocols also. So at the end of the day, regulations and everything are good, But as you said, Middle class doesn't exist anymore. People around the world really see crypto like a scam. So even if they see Atom at $5, I mean, why would I buy that? There are too many tokens on the market, and we had like a little bit over 2021's total market cap. So too many choices, no money. Same
Yeah.
money, same money, too many choices.
Yeah, and that's partially why it's people for a while there were like, oh, it's a bull market. And it's like, no, it's institutions buying Bitcoin, and that's basically it. The last 5 months, like altcoins, people aren't buying altcoins, and there's some people that were trading meme coins, but then we found out a lot of that was like insider trading. It's not even like organic. So it's a desert right now, and it's a real test of human will in terms of the builders that are still here, because we have to believe that eventually things will stabilize and we will have built something that's fundamentally better than traditional finance. That is still the battle that is being had. And stablecoins are kind of proving that we're onto something. Stablecoin supply keeps going up and up and up. If you go on DeFi Llama, you can see that like we're at our all-time high for stablecoin liquidity, and that means people are actually using it for payments. They're using blockchains for settlement. That's amazing. So there's some light at the end of the tunnel. I think lending and borrowing is also finding product market fit. And I think like debit cards tied to DeFi is going to probably be the next big logical next step. So there's still stuff to be built, of course. And we need privacy for all of it at the end of the day.
Yeah. And to be honest, we really need to focus more on the journey rather than the destination.
Yeah, but I don't blame people. Like there's people that invested in crypto, they're down 95% on their alt tokens, and they're frustrated and they're upset, and that is so fair. And like the answer, oh, you could have sold it, but it's like people really believe in the technology, and it's just all of this has been so volatile and so harsh. So for the people frustrated out there, it's like I empathize with you, and it's like it's tough. How do we get out of this? It doesn't matter what happened in the past. How do we climb out of it? And I think it's about builders having their come to Jesus moment where we need to stop building for the next narrative, for the next hype thing, and actually dig in, find customers in Web 2 and connect them to Web 3. Build genuine solutions that actually have an impact on everyday life, as opposed to being 40 bridge connections away. Like who's using that? Man, who's using that?
Exactly. The Cosmos ecosystem has really taken a big shift into leadership in the last 3 months, and I really wanted to see what's your take on the current state of Cosmos. With Magmar and Barry coming over and everything. Personally, I'm pretty bullish. But I want to hear your take.
I'm very bullish. I've had a chance to hop on calls with Magmar, get to know him, get to understand the vision. Shade is one of the biggest Atom liquidity locations right now in Cosmos besides Osmosis. So we're definitely very passionate about the hub. I think Magmar and Barry, what they understand is that they need to be able to win over liquidity. We live in a world where like EVML2s are emerging, Solana is doing really well. How does the Cosmos Hub stand out above all of this noise? And I think it's about making the Cosmos Hub competitive again. The hub had this kind of neutral, we're neutral, we're a security provider, we don't want to step on anyone's toes, we don't want to compete with anyone. And that was a vision, right? That was a vision. But it's all about product market fit again. How many people actually wanted to buy security? What was the demand for that service? And I think Barry and Mag have done a really good job of coming in and saying, you know what, partial set security, let's keep that. There's still long-term utility to that concept. Interchain security, though, where it's a full validator set overlap, product doesn't work. It's too expensive for both sides. There's not product market fit here. And now they've really pivoted the roadmap to making the Cosmos Hub the router of crypto. that it wants to be the centerpiece of having lots of liquidity flowing in and out of it. They want to use IBC to have lightning fast sheep bridging and use skip.go and everything that's already been built to just have the hub be used by millions of consumers without even really knowing that they're using the Cosmos hub. And they're also opening up to be a smart contract platform so that dApps can build on top of this router that the Cosmos hub is becoming. So they're chasing product market fit, they're chasing liquidity, they're proud of the Cosmos hub, and they're making the community excited again because we're rallying around a single story. Instead of previously, it's 100 blockchains that are all bickering. Now it's like, no, the default is everyone supports the hub, and if the hub wins, everyone else wins. And
atom alignment.
Atom alignment. You got it.
Yeah, exactly. I want to pick your brain a little and see exactly how does a day in the life of Carter look like, because you and me both know that building in crypto is very hard. You have up and down. So how do you stay focused? How do you avoid burnout? How does a day in the life of Carter look like?
Yeah, so we're in office 3 days a week, Monday through Wednesday, and then we're remote on Thursday and Friday. So I always really love the in-person days with the team because, there's two sides, maybe three sides. There's the product, there is the community, and then there's the macro markets. That's kind of how my brain thinks about my job. My job is to make sure every day that the product, we always preach this, 1% better every day. If you would have looked at the Shade app 3 years ago versus what it is now, they are completely different products. So no matter what the market does, every day we're always on the app, fixing bugs, getting user feedback, and iterating on everything that's been built. That's where a lot of the excitement and energy comes from, is like, we don't care what price is doing. If we can get 1% better day on the product, I trust that 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now, at some point, we will build a product so good and so well loved that we will succeed. So that's kind of the first thing. The second one is the community. I spent a lot of time on Telegram and Discord, talking to community members, answering questions, giving the roadmap, and hearing people's frustrations, honestly. Like, it's been so dark out there for the last 2.5 years that sometimes I have to take honest conversations with people where I say, hey, I know you're 80% down. I know you're 90% down. I promise you, I feel that. I've talked to carpenters.
Because we are too.
Yeah, we are too. And I actually do a lot of self-funding of Shade Protocol at this point. It's development, but it's a separate story. I've talked with carpenters that believe in Shade so much, one guy in particular, and every week with his paycheck, he buys some Shade, and he's been doing that for years. And it's like, that's like a blue-collar worker that has like placed their hard work, and like literally they're fixing tables, they're working, and they invest and believe in what Shade is going to become one day. And like, that is a heavy weight to know these are humans, these are people that believe in us. And so far, that belief has been misfounded in terms of the investment, right? And so I have to be honest with those people, encourage those people. And so we show up every day and work as hard as we can because we know people believe in us and we don't want to let those people down. I want to make sure everyone that believed in us the last 3 years when markets tanked, that they're rewarded one day. And that's one of my other driving motivations. So all the community interaction. And then the third one is the macro stuff. Like, I think as a founder, maybe 6 months ago, I'm like, I think I spend too much time on CoinGecko, probably a little too much time on X. Like, it can suck you in. The negativity of the algorithm can suck you in, and it's kind of just a waste of time, but also you need to see that stuff so you have empathy for what people are going through and the reality of the situation. So that's where I juggle product, community, macro. That's where my time is spent. And the bags under the eyes probably prove it.
But how do you stay focused and motivated, and how do you avoid this burnout? I look at me, and most of the time I'm so burned out, I don't know how it feels not to be burned out.
Yeah. I think the thing that really keeps me going, besides the community, is the team. I think burnout comes from when expectations don't meet reality. And if you kind of live that for a long enough period of time, it can be emotionally exhausting to keep pushing more and more time and energy into it because you're just not seeing the output. What I know is when I push and pour time into my team and into the product, expectations meet reality. Good things are always happening when I do that. So that's how I avoid burnout, is I focus on the things I can control. I can't control price. I can't control
what Trump says.
I can't control tariffs. I can't control any of that. All I can do is go build the best privacy-preserving product crypto has ever seen. That's all I can do. And the more I focus on that instead of price, the less burnout I feel. Now, the flip side is, that sounds so courageous and good, is that like the sustainability of the product and the team is built on the token price. So like it is brutal. There is burnout. And all I try to do is just control what I can control. That's the honest answer.
Exactly. And thank you for this. Right now, we are entering the last chapter of the podcast, and we want to wrap things up with some rapid fire questions to get a sense of where your head's at when it comes to crypto. But for these ones, just quick top of mind answers. Let's go. Yeah. What's the biggest misconception about privacy in crypto right now?
That it's hard to use. If you use something like Shade, you'll realize privacy can be easy to use.
What's the most overrated DeFi narrative right now?
AI agents on chain.
Top 3 most used crypto apps?
Aave, MakerDAO/Sky, and well, besides Shade, I would also say Osmosis.
If you could fix one thing about the Cosmos ecosystem, what would it be?
Stop launching blockchains that should start as apps on a blockchain.
One piece of advice you'd give to someone starting in crypto right now? Don't join. Don't
I know. I would say do it for the right reasons. If you're here just to make a quick buck, you're in for a painful surprise.
That doesn't happen anymore, to be honest. So it's in the past. Where can people follow ShadeX and stay updated?
Follow us at Shade_protocol on X. You can also join our Telegram as well, Shade Protocol. And then you can follow me at L_Woetzel. That's L_WOETZEL. Would love to have you follow me. I post a lot of privacy content, a lot of DeFi content, a lot of Cosmos content.
Any final words for the Shade and Cosmos community?
I would say be sure to give the BlockHunters a follow, subscribe to them. Just a lovely host here today. It's been a great experience. And yeah, be sure to join the community. I know this was a pretty somber tone when we talked about crypto, but like we have a lot of fun. And come use the app.shadeprotocol.io. If you use this thing, I promise you'll have a lot of fun. And I won't even know that you've used it because #privacy.
Thank you for this, Carter. Have a great one.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.